Guys, my name is Femi. Welcome to my channel. In this tutorial, we are going to be building a to-do list. We are going to be using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And we are going to be taking advantage of JavaScript's local storage API. The reason why we are going to be using local storage for this project is because we want to be able to persist the data on the user's browser. Therefore, we are going to prevent the problem of whenever we reload the page, the to-do list gets wiped. Everything will still be there even if you reload the page. If you reload the page, the to-do list will still has its data in it. So before we start, I would like to discuss the prerequisites for this course, for this tutorial. First, you need to have your browser. I have my Chrome, my Brave browser here. So my browser, you can use any browser you want. You can use Chrome, you can use Firefox, you can use Edge, you can use anyone you want. But I will be using Google. I'll be using Brave browser. Then we'll be using VS Code editor. If you are not familiar with code editors, if you are not familiar with VS Code, you can use any code editor of your choice. There are various code editors out there. There is VS Code, there is Atom, there is Sublime. But for this course, we are going to be using VS Code. If you don't have VS Code installed, you can just head over to Google and search Visual Studio Code, and the first link that pops up, you can get Visual Studio Code from this link and install it on your computer. Then in our Visual Studio Code, for faster development, we are going to be using an extension called Live Server, so that we don't have to manually go and reload our browser whenever we make changes to our code. It's right here. If you want to install an extension, it's right here. You just search for Live Server right here, and it's right here. So I already have Live Server installed on my computer. That's why you are seeing this. If you don't have it installed, you are going to most probably see something like this install and stuff like that. So once you've installed it, then we are ready to start this course. So first of all, like I said initially, we are going to be using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and no external library or anything. Design is going to be basic. We just need to achieve a to-do list that keeps data even after refresh. So without further ado, let's just get started. Let's start with index.html. I'm going to make this real quick. I'll assume that you already have basic knowledge of HTML and CSS, and I'll focus more on explaining JavaScript. Okay, let's go. This is a shortcut in VS Code. You can just put exclamation mark at the top of your HTML file, and it will, once you press enter, it will bring a boilerplate of an HTML file. So this is it. We can just call this to do app. Then we're just going to jump straight in. We are going to be using external style for this project, so let's just create our CSS file right away. We're going to call it style, sorry, there's a typo, style.css. Then we should link it in our HTML like this. Link, yes. Sorry, I'll be using shortcuts. Like, this is just a normal HTML syntax for linking external styles. Okay, so let's just get going. First of all, I want to have a div that will contain the entire thing. So I'm just going to call this one main wrapper, and then I'll also have another div. And I'll call this, I'll give this a class of okay, let's just call this one action wrapper. Then I'll have a div containing a class of list wrapper. Then right here I'm just going to have something that we can use to add to our to-do list. Like, this is where you add an event or anything to your to-do list. So we're just going to have an input type of text, and then we're going to have a button, and just call this add. I think this is just fine. Then right here we're just going to have okay, so before we continue, I would just like us to launch this in our live server so that we can see changes as we go. So I'm just going to go live. Once you have live server installed, you can just come over and click go live, and it will automatically start your server for you, and your server is going to listen for changes. So this is our server, and it's right here, and you can see our code. So I'm just going to make things a bit faster for us by minimizing like this. I just share the screen between both sides. So this is where we are going to be adding events to our to-do list, and this is going to be a list of the to-do list themselves, like the list of items in the to-do list. Div, we're just gonna call this class. Let's just call this one list item, and in here we can just say div. Sorry, like I'm using a lot of shortcuts and it's just messing things up. Class item name, let's just say bake cakes. Then in here we're just going to do another thing, or let's just say this one is going to be a class of item actions. Okay, and in here we're just going to have two buttons. We're going to have one button is going to be to edit, and the other button is going to be to delete. So we're just going to have sorry, I'm trying to make this video as short as possible. Edit, and then we're going to have delete. Okay, so this is how one of the item is going to look like. So we can definitely copy and paste this, and then once we save, you can see the live server is just picking up our changes right off. Okay, so we have this very basic page right now, but it looks super ugly. So let's add some sauce by adding some CSS. Okay, so let's just go. So I assume that you already know a bit of CSS, but if you don't, there is no problem. At the end of this course, I'm going to attach a link to the code base so you can have it for free, and just you can go to the code base and maybe learn some few new things. But I'm just going to be very fast in doing this. First direction is going to be column, and then align items center and justify contents center. So by saving this, we should have all our container at the middle. I don't know, I think I have a typo somewhere. Or perhaps my style is not being linked correctly. Okay, it is. Okay, sorry for debugging. Let's just add the background color and add red. Okay. Yeah, so it's supposed to work, but since it's refusing to work, we're just going to apply the class on the main wrapper. I believe that should fix it. Wrapper. Okay. Yeah, this should fix it. Sorry, it's not working because we applied the style on the body. Okay, I think this fixes it now. Okay, let's keep going. Let's add padding. I want to have top and bottom. Let's just have 20 pixel. Left and right, let's have 0%. So it stays out a bit. Then let's continue. Let's move to the action wrapper. Okay, dot action wrapper. Okay, for this I'm just going to give it a background color of red so that we can highlight where it is on our page. There seems to be a problem with my code, it's not updating. Background color of red. Okay, let's have a padding of 20 pixel. Okay, it's actually working. It's because everything is compressed together. Okay, that's it for that one. We can, I think it's going to be just fine to increase the padding to about 30 pixel. Okay, that makes sense. I'm just going to remove the background color, then let's keep going. Okay, so I like to style these guys. I like to style them more. I think if I should just add a space here and to space it out. I'm going to try my best to keep this design as basic as possible so we can focus on the main side of the project. So I'm just going to say input font size. Let's just give this one rem and give it a padding of 10 pixel. Okay, this looks nice. Let's give it a border of blue, 1 pixel solid. Okay, one other thing I remembered is that this is not supposed to be, we're supposed to use a text area, but like it doesn't really matter. We just need to collect inputs from there, so I'm just going to move on. It doesn't really matter. Let's try to add some bit of style to the button also. I'm just going to say padding. Let's give it 10 pixel also. Okay, let's give it a background color of blue. Let's give it a color of white, of course. We're going to increase the font width, give it bolder, then we're going to give the border solid 1 pixel, but then we can't use white because it's going to cause that. So let's just use what color? I think we're just going to use something like aqua. This should work just fine. One trick in Visual Studio Code is you can actually select your color from here. So I could go for something like this, maybe save it, leave it like that. So to match up with things, I'm just going to increase the padding a bit. Yeah, this is okay, this is quite okay. We're just going to move forward with that. I like to add some hover effects to the button like this. Then hover, I want to change the background color to white. I want to change the color of the text to black. Then I want to change the color of the border. I want to give it the actual blue, 1 pixel solid. Okay, so the effect of this is that whenever you hover right here, you're going to have this. I also would like to have a cursor pointer right here, so we have something like this. Okay, so we can now, this is where we are going to be adding our items to the to-do list. Okay, let's continue with our styling. So we would like to style each of these elements. To get started, let's first check the style. So list wrapper, we can just start from list item. So right here, list item, and then so let me just add something like a background color of red and see what's gonna happen. Okay, so we need to have a width of 100%. Then we need to have, okay, then we need to have a height. No, sorry, we can't have a height. We need to have a margin of about maybe 10 pixel. Then yes, we have a padding of margin of about 20 pixels. This is okay. Let's then display inline flex. There's actually not much difference between inline flex and flex itself, but I just prefer to use inline flex. There seems to be a problem with our page, so I'm not going to give it a full view. Okay, there seems to be a padding causing some bit of problem. Okay, it's actually the margin causing the problem, so we're just going to continue like this. Okay, we have the inline flex, so in order to keep things at the center, we can just do display, align items center, justify contents center. Once you save it, you have everything at the center of your page. Then we could do this same margin, but then we just do top and bottom 20 pixel, left and right 0 pixel, because it's not even necessary. So we don't have that unnecessary overflow right there. So so now we have each of these guys, but they are still looking quite ugly. First of all, I need to remove the background to keep things simple. We have these. I would like to add a bit of design in it before we continue. Okay, we're just going to come over to this place and check out the list item, then item name. We're going to try to increase the font size a bit and do add some bit of design to the buttons. So let's go. List item. Okay, so center is quite fine for this. Center is quite good for this. Okay, let's just do this dot list items. Let's the div. Let's just, I think I selected that correctly, or we could just do item name directly, not having to do that. So I'll just do item name, and I'll give it a background color of red. Let's just see what's going to happen. Okay, you can see we have that right there. Okay, I will just increase the padding by 10 pixel. Okay, you can see it's going to look a bit better. Then we can increase the font size to 1 rem. So we have I think this is just fine. Then it should work a bit with the button. So let's try to tag the selector for the button. Okay, item actions. So item actions dot item actions. Then you're just going to have the item actions. We want to style all the buttons in there. So okay, so what I want to do right now is quite interesting. Instead of having to write another style, I want these guys to have the same style with the add button right here. So I will just copy this selector and add a comma right here and do this, so they kind of pick up the same style. Then I can also add them for the over effects. Okay, right there. So now you can see they have the same effects and everything. And I would like to increase the style of this, increase the size of the actual item name. It's quite too big, so 1.2 rem. Okay, we have this really cool looking to-do list. It's actually not very beautiful, but like that's not the purpose of this course. We're just going to continue with the JavaScript, and it's to some extent it's quite responsive. It's not having any issues responsive. So okay, let's continue from here. So to continue, I'm just going to, I actually left these other guys here because of I want to see what I'm doing. I'm just going to remove quite a lot of them right now. like this, and we are going to have only just one. Okay, so now we are going to head over to our JavaScript. We're going to head over to our JavaScript, and in order to do that, I'm just going to link an external JavaScript file, as I would like our code to be as clean as possible. So I'm doing that right now. Okay, so I'll just add a new file, and I'll name it source.js, like this. So I'll just do a console.log hello world. This is to confirm that it's been loaded into our HTML page. So right at the bottom, before the closing body tag, I'm going to include our JavaScript file by writing script source, and I'll just call it source.js. And if we should open our console by clicking inspect, so it's taking a bit of time. I'll open the console. You can see we have hello world right here. This is indicating that our JavaScript has indeed been loaded into the DOM. So we're just going to jump right into the code, writing the JavaScript code. So first of all, I'm going to add some attributes to my HTML elements, like okay, I'd like to reduce the width of this one a bit. I like you to be seeing everything as we go, and I don't want to spend much time. I don't want to waste much of your time on this video. So first of all, I'll add an ID for this, ID for the input text, input element. So I'll just say input, then we'll add an ID to the button also, and I'll just say add button. Okay. Then for this containing the list items, I'll add an ID, and I'll name it item list container. Okay, so this actually does it. So in our JavaScript, we can indeed get started. So first of all, we are going to be doing some few DOM manipulation, and we are going to be selecting a lot of elements from the DOM using their ID. Therefore, I would like to have a helper function that I just use to pick, a shorthand function that I use to pick elements from the DOM with their ID. So for that, also another thing to put in mind, like as of the time I'm making this video, the ES6 is already popular, so most of my code will be in ES6 format. This is to enable you, to expose you more to the world of ECMAScript 6. So I'm just going to do this cons ID. I'm going to call this I'm going to pass X right here, and I'll just do a return document.get elements by ID of X. So what this function is going to do is that whenever you call it, you are going to pass the ID of the element you want to pick, and it's going to return that element for you. So right now, if I say const input is equal to ID, yes, ID, and I pass input, which is the ID of the input right here, then it's going to pick up this DOM element and assign it to the variable input. And const means I cannot manipulate the value of this input in further in my code. So for this tutorial, let's just use the let. Then let's add button is going to be equal to ID. Then we'd like to pick up the ID, which is add button right here, which is add button. Then let's just console.log the input, and let's also console.log the add button. Save this, and you can see in our console we have this, and it's going to represent the elements in the DOM. This means our JavaScript ran well, everything is going fine. So one thing we need to do is to attach an event listener. An event listener in JavaScript, is a function that we want to execute whenever an event is triggered. Like whenever I load a page, whenever I click a button, whenever I start typing, whenever I stop typing. There's just a lots of event listener. Whenever I scroll, just a lot of them, they are just event listeners. So in this case, we are going to be using the click events much more. So there are two ways of hooking event listeners to a JavaScript element, but in this tutorial we are just going to write most of our JavaScript inside our JavaScript file. There's a way you can hook it from the elements, from the HTML markup, but we won't be doing that here because we just need to focus inside our JavaScript. So to continue, let's just add a button, and let's button.add event listener. Yes. Let's say on the click event, we want to do this. We want to have the event, then we want to prevent default. This means the default behavior, because every element in the browser have their default behavior. Like when you click a button, it's supposed to submit a form or do something, but in this case it is not going to perform that action. It is going to prevent the default action. So then we can execute a function called add event. So no. So this is add event, and what this actually means, this is a function that we are going to create inside our JavaScript that we are going to use to add items to this list, to our to-do list. So we have to create that function here, and we can call it add event, and just go from here. So on click of this, there's quite a lot we want to do. This doesn't matter, but I like to write my variable first before I start defining functions after them. Cannot access ID before initialization. Oh, sorry, I have quite problem here, because this ID function is above all. We have to define it like this and start defining our function down here, because this variable depend on the ID. So this gets added to the down first before this. Okay, so let's continue. So just to confirm that our event listener has been hooked to our elements, let's just drop an alert, and let's say clicked. Okay, clicked. Okay, so when I click this button, I should get an alert which says clicked. This means everything is working fine. Our event listener has been hooked to our elements properly. So let's go. Now what we want to do is that we want to add something to local storage. Now there's local storage is quite very easy. It's a very easy JavaScript API to use, though it has its limitations. We are going to discuss about its limitation after we are done implementing this. So without wasting time, let's just continue. So right here we are going to define our item list, which I'm going to call let item list is equal to local storage dot item list. However, this might be undefined, and so we have to use something in JavaScript that is called ternary operators. So item lists, if item list, use local storage json dot parse local storage dot item list, else just one empty array. Now what this is going to do is that, let me increase my screen size a bit. Okay, what this is going to do is that it is first going to check if local storage dot item list is true. Now if it is true, if it is available, if there is item list in our local storage, we try to pass it and add it to this variable. If there is not, we just assign an empty array to this variable. That is basically it. Let us continue. So in our add event, we are just going to check for something. So we definitely don't want users to be able to add an event that does not have any, like if they don't type anything here, we don't want to add an event. So in order to fix this, there is something we can do. We need to access the value of this input element. Remember, this input element is linked to the input element. This input variable is linked. This input variable right here is linked to this input element. So we can access the value that is being typed into the input element by reading this input variable. In order to do that, let's just go. Let value is equal to input dot value, and then let's just do an alert and pass value. Now this is going to throw an alert of whatever I will type inside this place. So let's just say hello world. If I click add, I'm supposed to have hello world right here. Okay, this works fine. Now let us continue. In order to add events, we want to push into this item list array. What I mean by push is that we want to add to the already existing data that is in this item list array. In order to do that, we can just say, we can check and say if, sorry, I cancel the variable that should be there. I would like to do a check. So if value dot length is greater than 0, we want to do item lists. Sorry, there seems to be a problem. Okay, item list dot push. So we want to push something into our item list. We want to push the value. We want to push the value. Else we want to show them an alert. Else alert. Please specify a name for your task. So what this is going to do is very simple. It is going to check if the length of what is typed into this input box is greater than 0, which means something was actually typed. Then it is going to add it to our variable, which is the item list. If it is not, it is going to throw an alert that the user should specify something. The user should at least specify a task to be added to their to-do list. So what I want to do now is to console.log the item list after I have added an item. So I'm just going to refresh right now, and then I'll click add. Please specify a name for your task, because I didn't type anything and I should have an empty array right here. But if I type something like hello world, I should have an array with hello world. If I add, I should have 2 arrays with hello world. Okay, so we can continue from here. Yes, of course we can continue from here. So now there are limitations to local storage that I would like you to know. Is that it is a data storage that is built into the browser. That is one. And another thing is that it cannot store data above 5 MB. So that is going to be the limitation of our app. Once the storage is up to 5 MB, you are going to start getting some errors. And as a matter of fact, this is just a very little app, so it should not, in most use cases, it should not use up to 5 MB. So we're just going to continue. And another limitation that I would like you to know is that you can only store strings into the local storage. So if you observe in our code initially, we had to pass this if it is in the local storage. This is because we are expecting a string from the local storage, so we are immediately passing it right here. So whenever you want to add value into the local storage, you have to always pass it to a string before you can be able to add it. And whenever you want to read value from the local storage, if the value is not a string, maybe it's an array or is an object, then you need to pass it before you can be able to use it. So right here, right now, we're just going to do something like this: local storage dot item list. We're going to send it to JSON dot stringify, JSON dot stringify item list. What this is going to do is to stringify our item list, turn it into a string. This is what it does. It turns it into a JavaScript object and JavaScript object into a string. So this will be converted to a string and it will be added to our local storage. So let's just continue. If I should refresh right now and I do this, we have our condition running right here, telling me that I need to type something. So let's say write some code, and then you click add. It get added to the local storage. Sorry, I wanted to console.log local storage dot item list. So if we should refresh right now, and you add an app like you add, okay, write some more codes, and then you add, you can see in our console we have two things: write some code, which is what I added initially, and write some more codes. These are being stored on our local storage. So that is all for the function that is going to be adding stuff to our local storage. So now we have a functionality that adds events and tags to our to-do app, but the problem is that we are not rendering those apps here and we cannot edit or delete them yet. So without wasting any much of our time, let us continue. So we already have this wrapper right here. So to continue, let us first comment this out, and then you can see we have nothing here, but we have the ID of this container that contains the list of to-do items. So let's go from here and let's do something like this. We can just grab the let of list container and call this ID of this, and we are grabbing the container that contains the to-do list. So we can write a function again that is going to render all the items in the to-do list. So let's just do something like this: const render list, and we are just going to make this ES6 arrow functions. Sorry, I need to mention these. These are called arrow function. The traditional way of writing function is like this: function render list. This is the ES6 syntax, but this is ES. This is the ES5 syntax, but this is ES6 syntax. Really sorry about that. Let us continue. So this function, what it's going to do is basically just render our list. It's just going to render our list into the browser. So in order to do this, we're just going to manipulate the DOM by doing something like this: list container dot inner HTML is equal to something like this. Now what this is going to do is that it is going to change all the content. It is going to change all the content that is inside this container which references this container right here. It's going to change all the contents inside into whatever will pass into this variable. So let us continue. Now there is something we need to do here. We need to write a loop, because we are going to be looping through the item list. We need to loop through each of them and render them right directly into the DOM. So let us continue. We're going to add the iterator right here, then the condition I is less than item list dot length, then we increment. So let us continue again. At the top of this place, we would like to remove everything that is already. We would like to set the value of this DOM element to empty so that we can re-render what is inside. In order to do that, we can then do something like this. Dot inner HTML plus equal to this. Now if you observe right here, we used equal to, but here we are using plus equal to, because here we want to change what is inside the container, but here we want to update what is inside, so we want to add to what is inside. That's why we are using plus equal to. So we are going to bring in our HTML container here. We're going to bring in our HTML container. We remove the comments. And then I'm just going to use a shorthand in VS Code that's going to format the document for me to make things look a bit more nice. Then we can have this. Okay, so what it's going to do is that it will look through the list of item lists in our local storage, and it will render elements for each of them. Then we can just change the value of this one. This is called template literals in JavaScript. You can check references for that. Instead of using the traditional way of concatenation, we just use template literals to use variables inside strings. So item list at point I, that will be the value that should be rendered here. Now nothing is happening. We already have 2 items in our local storage that we added initially, but nothing is happening here. Reasons because we have not executed our function. We only created our function. Now we need to execute our function. We can execute it anywhere after initialization. We can execute it here. We can just execute it anywhere. So I would like to execute it right at the bottom of the page. I'll call this render list, and let's go. And you can see we have our items. We have write some codes. We have write some more codes. And yeah, that is it. Those are the stuffs we added to our local storage. Then let's add some more. Let's say go on a date. I know most of you guys are interested in this. Let's just continue. Okay, it's been added, but then it's not being updated right here. That is because we didn't call this render function after we have updated the list, which will not make it render the new things that have been added. And also I observed there's something wrong with our code. We are supposed to clear this input after we have created something. So in order to do this, we are going to do both of these ones. We are going to head over to our add event function, and whenever anything is successful, we're just going to do input dot value is equal to empty. And you can see when everything refresh, it added our new item into the list. We don't want this to happen. We want our stuff to we want it to happen immediately after we click add. And also we want to clean what is inside the input immediately we are able to add an item to the list. So we right here we're just going to do render list after updating the item list. So if we refresh this now, all of this behavior should be built in, should work right now. So let's say make some tutorials, and let's just say add. You can see this is being added to the bottom of the list. Now I observe there's also one problem here, that is the fact that new items are being added to the bottom, whereas new items are supposed to be added. I would like us to add new items to the top of the list. So in order to do that, right here, if this is being found, we're just going to do dot reverse. I think this should do the trick. Yes. So what we are basically doing is that we are reversing the list that we are getting from our local storage before rendering it. So we can say something like let's just say something like go on a date, make some tutorials, let's say watch movies and add it. Oh yes, sorry, there seems to be a problem. Okay, and that is the fact that even with the fact that we are rendering in reverse mode, it is still, we are still pushing into the array, instead of us to shift push actually adds to the end of the array, whereas shift adds to the starting of the array. So we can use shift to make things right here. Shift, sorry, okay, so this should make things work the normal way. Watch some movies, go on the date, blah blah blah. So watch some movies, if I add a new item now, it should add to the top of the list. So let's say take a walk, and I just add it. Okay, there seems to be quite a problem with our code. I think the shift is causing the issue. Okay, sorry, I'm just going to troubleshoot this right in the video so we can be able to figure out what the problem is together. First I'm going to remove this reverse, and then a very clean way to do this is to reverse this list here. So I can now say item list is equal to item list dot reverse. So this should solve the problem we are having. So everything has been refreshed. So if I say make some videos, take coffee, let's just do drink coffee and add, you can see drink coffee is right here, and if I refresh, drink coffee is still right at the top. If I say go to bed, and I add this, you can see go to bed is right there at the top, and if I refresh, it's still persistent, it still stay at the top. This is the power of local storage over normal DOM manipulation, over storing your value in local JavaScript variables, because it is going to be stored, it's going to actually be stored in your application. So I saw that design mess, but I won't be fixing it on this tutorial, because that's not our main focus. So when we started, we said we are going to have a to-do list where we can add items, we can edit, and we can delete them. And here we are, we actually have items that we can add, edit. We actually have items that we can add, and everything is rendering on our page. Then what's next? We need to add the functionality for editing and deleting items. Okay, so simple things first. I'm going to do the delete action first. So yeah, let's go. Just give me a sec. Let me resize my screen so you can move faster. We are going to create a function that is going to delete an item. So I'm going to do const delete item is going to be equal to pass the ID, and what's going on, everything is fine. Okay, so right here we are going to attach an event listener to our delete button. So we are going to say on click is equal to delete item, then we can pass our ID. Or for us to understand this better, let's just use index right here. So our index is going to be what's going on here. Okay, I don't think this is necessary anymore. Yes, so basically what this function is receiving is the index of that particular item in the list. So for us to confirm this, I am going to alert with that index. So we are going to save this, and then when I click delete this, you can see we are trying to delete the item with index 0. For us to know, the index here is actually the I in the loop. Okay, so we are trying to delete the item with index 0, and here we are trying to delete the items with index 1, and here index 2, and so on and so on and so on. So right here, what do we want to do? We want to remove from our item list that particular item. So let's just go from there. First of all, we are going to check if that item is available. So we are going to check if that item is available in our list. So let us go. We have our item list exposed right here, so we can just immediately search and say item list dot okay, yeah, so let's call this new, let new list, or no, sorry, let item, let's try to check, is equal to item list at points index. So let's go, let's actually send an alert with that item, so if we click it now, it's supposed to show what is in that item. So let's just do delete. It's saying go to bed. Perfect. Make some tutorials. This is also perfect. So we are confirming that this is there. Okay, so we need to do a logical. We just need to check if item is not equal to undefined. On that, else do an alert. Item has already been deleted. So this is just going to check if the item is still available in our to-do app. If it is, we try to delete it. If it is not, we throw an alert that the item is actually not available. So if it is, let's just do item list. Now it's going to be equal to item list dot splice start number, which is going to be our index. Start number is going to be our index, which is the current index that we have right here, and then we are going to splice just that element. Sorry, I think we're supposed to use one here. I've forgotten the syntax, so let's do console.log item list. We need to confirm what is being deleted before we actually store it in our local storage. So let us continue. I'm doing this right now. Okay, so let's refresh to confirm that everything is working properly. So delete, we have go to bed. I don't think that's what we want. Okay, because I assigned it to the variable, that's why. Okay, let's see now. Okay, we have make some tutorial, go on the dates, write some code, write some more codes, write some code, drink coffee. Okay, everything seems to be fine. It's been removed, but we have not added it to our local storage, so we are going to do that right now. So right here we're just going to do the same thing that we did here. So because we have altered our list, we are going to update our local storage. We are going to update our local storage, and we are going to re-render our list. So if we refresh this now, and then I delete go to bed, you see it's been removed from our application. Even if we refresh, you don't have it there. I remove write some code, it's being removed from our application. Even if I refresh, everything is working just fine. Okay, so this has been going fine so far. We only have one more functionality to change, and we are just going to do that right away. So I'm going to close my console because I don't think we are going to be needing it anymore. Let's go. Sorry, this is not supposed to show up. Okay, let's continue. Now I'm going to have one last function that we are going to name const edit item, and it's also going to accept the index. And you know what, we are just going to do almost the same thing that we did here. I'm just going to say something like item not available list. Okay, so that is that, but then we don't want to delete. We are doing obviously the same thing that we are doing here. We are checking if the item is actually available. So now that we confirm that it is available right inside this place, we are going to try to alter the value. So we are going to do item. First of all, we need to collect what you want to use to change the value of that particular item. So we are going to use a JavaScript prompt because I don't want us to start designing a modal and stuff like that. So we are just going to say let prompt is equal to, sorry, prompt is actually, let's just call this ask. Let's ask prompt change. We are trying to change we want to change item to this. You are going to see the effect of this in a second. So let's go. We have saved these. Let's refresh. Sorry, I'm already used to the fashion of refreshing. Everything has already been updated. So if I click edit now, I should have a pop-up, but there doesn't seem to be one. So I'm just going to check our console. Seems to be an error. Oh, there is no error. I have not attached our function in this place, so we need to attach a function to all the edit button. So once we do this, you can just say edit item. Then now if we click on edit, we should have this pop up. So we can say change make some tutorials to. Okay, I'm just going to make this look a bit better by doing something like this. So this is going to make this better. Okay, so we want to change make some tutorials to whatever we want to change. We are passing it here, and we are going to be collecting it over this ask variable. So let us continue. It's going to reply okay, and we are going to check if ask.length is greater than 0. So we don't need to show them any other pop-up again, but we just want to check if they actually impute something. If they impute something valuable, like they type something into the prompt, then we would like to update it. Else we just close our prompt, and that is all. So if ask length is greater than 0, so we're just going to, now we need to alter the value of the item list at that particular index. So we're just going to say item list at this index is equal to the new value that was typed into the prompt, which is ask. Okay, so we have this now. What is left for us to do? Let us not forget to update our local storage, and let's also not forget to re-render our list. So let us, everything is okay, so we can try to edit this, make some tutorials to make some cookies. If you click OK, you can see make some cookies. This is not looking good because it's supposed to render at the top. So Okay, I'm just going to check the render list, and I'm going to okay, it's not supposed to be adding to that bottom. If I even refresh, I shall make some cookies at the top. So I will console.log item list, and I will also do the same thing after altering the item list. So let's just inspect. We need to confirm what's causing the problem. So we're going to check the console, refresh these, and once you click edit and let's say hello world, we have these, but it's adding to the bottom of the list. So doing coffee, write some code, go on the date, make some cookies. Okay, hello world. Okay, I think I understand what the problem is. The list is always getting reversed. Okay, so we need to add some logic. We need to add some logic here that is going to say reverse is equal to false, so is equal to true if reverse, then do this reverse. Meanwhile the default value is 2, so it's always going to try to reverse, but we are going to pass false here, so it doesn't have to reverse the list. So we're going to pass false. So if I refresh now and I make coffee and I click OK, yes, it works just fine. It's still adding to the bottom of the list. This is quite not expected. Just going to try to troubleshoot this again. Hello mass, and let's go. Okay, go on the date, make coffee, write some code, go on the date, coffee. Okay, so I think I found a solution to this. Where is that? I'm just going to remove this entire thing, and no, I can't remove this entire thing, sorry. So we were facing that problem because we are trying to reverse the list. So I think we can use quite a few tricks that I know. We can try to loop from the, we can try to write our loop to start from the end instead of starting from the beginning. So we're just going to do something like this. I is equal to item list dot length. As far as I is greater than yes, as far as I is greater than 0, then I minus. So this should do the trick. Okay, it's time to refresh. Just do my refresh myself. Okay, this is kind of taking too much time. I think it fell into an infinite loop, so I'll just close this tab and try to start again. I'm trying to start the server again. Okay, so we have quite some data that we don't want to see here. Let me try to add some stuff. Okay, the undefined is always here. I think I have a fix for this. Yes, we're supposed to loop with this -1. Yes, that is going to fix it. I'll explain this in a minute. First, let's confirm that this has fixed the bug we were facing. So let's try to add a new item. Let's call it new item. We're adding it, it's adding to the top. When we refresh, we have it right at the top. When we delete this new item, we refresh, we have some stuff. Let's try to edit something, like make cookies. Okay, make coffee. Coffee. This should work just fine. If you should refresh, we still have make coffee. Everything seems to be working fine now, guys. So this does the fix for the problem we are having, where the reverse is causing some issues in our code, and we had to, I'm going to come back to that concept, but I just want to clean up the code a bit. Okay, this makes sense now. So back to this place, because we want our list to render upside down, like we want it to render in descending order. Because we want it to render in descending order, we cannot write our loop the normal way it's supposed to be written, the popular way that it's supposed to be written. Now what we are doing is that we are assigning I to be the iterator is the length of the items -1. Then as far as this is the condition, when the length is greater than 0, we continue our loop. Then we reduce the value of the length by 1. So for every loop we reduce the value of the iterator by 1. For every loop we reduce it by 1 until the loop completes. I think we already have achieved what we plan to achieve in this tutorial. So that's it, guys. Thanks for watching, thanks for your patience. I'm going to drop a link to the GitHub repository, the public GitHub repository that is going to contain this project, so you can clone it, make some changes, play around with it, do anything you want with it. It's your choice. Also, please, if you have any idea of any tutorial you like me to make, please don't hesitate to reach back, either from the comment section or in any way you can. And also, if you like the video, drop a comment. If you don't like it, you can also dislike to make me know. And also feel free to subscribe to my channel to get alerts whenever we drop new content. Okay, that's it, guys. Thank you very much.